The mansion stood silent, its chandeliers dimmed and halls echoing only with the soft ticking of a distant clock. Upstairs, behind a half-open door, a young girl sat by her window, pale, fragile, and hollow-eyed. Emily Rutherford, the billionaire's only daughter, hadn't eaten properly in weeks. Her father's empire stretched across continents, yet within these walls, his daughter's world was collapsing. She used to laugh like sunlight through glass. But ever since her mother passed, Emily's voice had faded into whispers. She pushed away every tray of food. No doctor, no therapist, no amount of pleading could bring her back. Until she arrived. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who asks listening. Her name was Grace. She was the new maid, quiet, steady, and with skin the color of deep mahogany. When she entered the mansion, the other servants whispered. Some said she wouldn't last a week. Others said the Rutherfords were too cruel, too proud to let someone like her stay. But Grace didn't flinch. She'd seen pain before, not the kind that screamed, but the kind that hid behind silk curtains. The first morning, Grace carried a silver tray to Emily's room. The girl didn't look up. The untouched soup beside her bed had already gone cold. Grace didn't speak at first. She simply placed the tray down, adjusted the curtains to let the sunlight in, and began humming. A low, gentle tune, the kind that felt like an old memory you couldn't quite name. Emily frowned. "Why are you humming?" she asked softly. Grace smiled. "Because it helps me remember the good things," she said, "even when there aren't many." For the first time in weeks, Emily didn't turn away. That evening, Grace didn't bring food. She brought a story. She told Emily about her childhood in a small southern town, how her grandmother taught her to cook by smell-not recipe, and how they used to sing while stirring the pot so that the food would taste like joy. Emily listened quietly. When Grace stood to leave, she noticed something. Emily's eyes, they weren't dull anymore. There was curiosity there. The next morning, Grace came again. This time she brought a bowl of thick chicken stew, not on the usual silver tray, but in a simple ceramic bowl. Steam curled like ghosts above it. The scent, garlic, thyme, and love filled the air. Emily's lips trembled. "It smells like home," she whispered. Grace sat beside her. "Would you like to try a spoonful?" The girl hesitated. Her father had begged her. The nurses had pleaded. But this woman, this stranger, just waited. No pressure, no pity, just presence. Emily took the spoon. It shook in her hand, but she took a bite, and then another. The tears came before the words. "I thought I'd forgotten what this felt like," she whispered. In that moment, Grace said nothing. She just reached out, and for the first time in months, Emily didn't pull away. Days turned into weeks. Grace never forced her to eat. She simply shared stories, warmth, and laughter. Each dish carried meaning. Bread that symbolized healing, tea for peace, soup for memory. Slowly, Emily's face began to glow again. Her laughter returned, fragile but real. But when her father, Charles Rutherford, returned from his endless business trips, he was furious. "You're telling me my daughter is listening to a maid?" he snapped. "I hired doctors, therapists, not servants to play nursemaid." Grace didn't back down. "With respect, sir, your daughter doesn't need another doctor. She needs someone who sees her." Charles's jaw tightened. "You're dismissed." Emily cried out. "Father, no!" It was the first time she'd raised her voice in months. The room froze. The billionaire stood, speechless, as his daughter clung to the woman he thought beneath them. Grace bowed her head and quietly left the room. That night, the house was silent again, except for the sound of Emily's sobs echoing through the halls. The next morning, Charles found a note on the kitchen counter. It was Grace's handwriting. "Sometimes, the richest hearts are the ones that remember what love tastes like." Beside it sat a pot of stew, the same one Emily loved. Charles hesitated, staring at it. Then he climbed the stairs, carrying it himself, something he hadn't done in years. When he entered his daughter's room, she looked up, her eyes red from crying. He knelt beside her. "Sweetheart," he whispered, "will you eat? If I feed you?" Emily stared at him, then nodded. Together, they shared the meal in silence. For the first time since his wife's passing, Charles felt something he thought he'd lost: humility. Love. Later that week, he drove across the city to find Grace. He found her volunteering at a community kitchen, serving meals to children with the same gentle smile she'd given his daughter. "Why did you help us?" he asked quietly. Grace looked at him, eyes shining. "Because hunger isn't always about food, Mr. Rutherford. Sometimes it's about being seen." He didn't say a word. He simply nodded and offered her a position no money could truly measure: head of family care. But Grace only agreed on one condition: that part of her salary would go toward feeding the children in her community. From that day forward, the mansion was never the same. Laughter returned. So did warmth. And every Sunday, the great dining table that once stood empty was filled with children, neighbors, and laughter. Because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back. And if you listen closely, you can still hear the faint hum of a song echoing through those marble halls, the song that healed a girl who hadn't eaten for weeks. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments what kindness means to you. Because somewhere out there, someone's hunger for hope, for love, for belonging, is waiting for you to feed it.